That's how come I have trouble with believers dyeing their hair. Because God says it's their glory, their splendor, their beauty. And yet people, oh no, I don't want, because they don't understand. They think that by dyeing their hair, they look young with their wrinkles and crow's feet and all. No, you still look old. Here, God says it's their beauty and their splendor. So as wise people, we should walk in that. Not be, oh my gosh, I got gray hair. Oh, I got to dye it. No, God says, if God says it's splendor and glory, who are you to say, oh, that's, it's not splendor and glory? Honestly, when a believer does that, I already question if they're even wise. Because if they were wise, they should be like, you know what? This is God's wisdom. I'm going to roll with what God says. But when they start going, oh, I gotta paint my hair and all that, they just showing that they don't believe God. Over something simple like this. If they don't believe God in the simple things, I question if they believe in the deeper matters.
Hey, but I'ma preach the word and none of that hate gon' work. Hey, hold up. Now I don't know what you heard, but don't believe anyone that can't show you the word.
Proverbs 20. We're up to Proverbs 20. So that means we got like 11 chapters. I guess 12 of this one. So let's just continue. Proverbs 20 verse 1. Wine is a mocker and beer a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise. All right. We live in an age where people want to be silly. All you do, this buzz for you. I just want to crack a beer because I had a long week. Wine is a mocker, meaning mine's going to make you do some stupid things. And beer is a brawler. That's how come in these stadiums, you see fights breaking out because people get a little bit too much liquor and then, all of a sudden there's a brawl. Whoever is led astray by them, wine and beer, is not wise. So, all these guys that drink, to the point of intoxication and are silly, they're not wise. I like how many of them like to speak on political or religious stuff. They're not wise. So as people who want to be wise, why even go down that path? Don't even go down that path. Verse 2, a king's wrath strikes terror like the roar of a lion. Those who anger him forfeit their lives. Okay, now we live in a democracy, but this is how it's been throughout history. If you tick off the leader, the king, is like the roar of a lion. He's just going to burst out and you're going to lose your life. Right? So you have to be very careful when you approach a king. It reminds me of people that go before a judge because they have the same power. And they go there nonchalant, they're very disrespectful. And then all of a sudden they're getting fined, they're getting their jail sentence longer. They would have spent like 3 days in jail, now they're going to spend 2 months. You're forfeiting your life. A king's wrath strikes terror like the roar of a lion. Those who anger him forfeit their lives. So when you approach a king or a judge, be careful how you approach them. Don't just think it's just another day. You're hanging out with your buddies. If you are disrespectful to your parents, now you could be disrespectful to the judge or the king. No, you will forfeit your life. 3, it is to one's honor to avoid a strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. All right? Look, you can feel when tensions are rising. You could feel like, okay, I'm about to go in and we're about to go at it. We're going to go toe to toe. But it is to one's honor to avoid it. So when you feel like striving, what you should do is say, you know what, I'm not going to go there. Nice try. You don't even have to tell them nice try. You just, okay, whatever. That's to one's honor, all right? To avoid the strife. You could get all principles. No. This is how it, you say, I'm not even go there. It is one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool takes the snare. They're quick to quarrel. Instead of saying, you know what, I don't want to strife, they jump in. We're gonna fight about making left turns, and every fool does that. They're quick to quarrel. Instead of saying, you know what, it's not really worth it. It's just gonna stress me out. It's just gonna make this whole day, whole trip horrible. I'm just going to dead it. No, every fool, they jump on it, and lo and behold, there's tension, there's hatred, there's bitterness. So, but that's how come you should be honorable and avoid the strife. Verse 4, Sluggards do not plow in season, so at harvest time they look but find nothing. See, this is using an agricultural term, and we're going to apply it to our lives. Like, sluggards do not plow in the season. In other words, there is a season every year that the farmers have to plow. They have to plant the seeds, or else when 5 or 6 months later, there's not going to be a harvest. But what do the sluggards do? They don't plow. They're like, they make excuses. They're too tired. They feel sore, so they think like they're disabled because they're sore. They do not harvest in season. So what's going to happen? So at harvest time, they look but find nothing. They had the season to plow was like 4 or 5 months ago, but now 5 months later, they're looking, okay, let me see what harvest I got. They got nothing. So how do we apply this to our lives? Don't be a sluggard. A sluggard does not plow in season. There's things you got to do. Whether today, this month, or this year, you have to do it. Don't push it off. Don't say, I don't want to do it, make up excuses. Or else, when the time comes where you need to find it, or you need it, guess what? You're not going to find it. So don't be a sluggard. One theme throughout the book of Proverbs is don't be a sluggard. It has a very negative perspective on sluggards or laziness or lazy people. All right, 5. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Click on that because I like the ESV. It says, the purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So in other words, somebody might tell you they want to do something for a reason, and everybody will believe them. But a wise person, they'll keep probing, and they'll get the real motive behind it. For example, they can say, I'm going to California because there's a job opportunity. But the wise person will pick up, and they'll be like, so where are you heading? What's the field? And then eventually that person will get them to admit they're going there to meet somebody. That's their real motive. That's what a wise person does. The purpose in a man's is like deep water. In other words, they might tell you is one thing, but really it's another. And most people will believe the person, but a wise man, a man of understanding will draw it out. They'll pull it out. They'll get to the heart of the matter, the real motive. But that's if somebody's wise. Most people are not wise. They're just whatever. It reminds me like a detective where they'll just keep asking questions and they'll get the person to confess, but it'll take a while. Other people, they'll just believe the story right up front of the perpetrator. Be, oh yeah, okay, you were there and that makes sense. No, but the detective really probes in. That man of understanding will probe in until he finally confesses, yeah, I did, I was there and all that. All right, go back. Verse 6. Many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find. All right, so there's going to be many people in your lives that say, yo, I got your back. I'm there for you. But in the end, Solomon is asking, but a faithful person who can find? In the end, he says, really, it's hard to find somebody that really got your back. Many will claim to have unfailing love. Say, oh yeah, no, Dad, I'm right behind you. My love, honey, I'm right behind you. But in the end, but a faithful person, it's hard to find a faithful person. One who's going to, like they say in the inner city, one who's going to ride or die with you. Like Solomon, like David had Jonathan, that it's hard to find that kind of person. So, don't be surprised if your own family members, your own friends aren't there when you really need them. Okay? Verse 7. The righteous lead blameless lives. I notice it says that the righteous lead, it doesn't say perfect lives, blameless lives, meaning they do the right things, and if they did something wrong, they rectify it. They don't just let it slide. They lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. So if you're righteous, your children are going to be blessed because you've been living an example to them, and they see it, and they're going to strive to walk in that example. So blessed are the children of those that lead righteous, that lead blameless lives. All right, so try to live a blameless life, because then your children will be blessed. Now let's take the opposite. If you live, the wicked don't lead blameless lives. The wicked do whatever they want. what's going to happen to the children? The children are not going to be blessed. The children are going to look at their example and say, you know what? I'm going to be a thug. I'm going to be a whore or a whoremonger or a drug addict. So if you really, people say they love their kids. If you truly love your kids, forget the Jordans, forget the expensive trip, lead blameless lives. The righteous lead blameless lives. And then your children will be blessed. All right? Verse 8. When a king sits on his throne to judge, he winnows out all evil with his eyes. Again, we're talking about, we live in a democracy, so we don't understand this concept. Before you stood before a king, he had so much authority that he could see basically through people, because a lot of people were nervous and he could tell who's lying or telling the truth, and he winnows them out. He knows, okay, you're wicked, you're being deceitful. That's how much authority and respect people have for the king back then. All right, and one day the King of Kings is going to winnow out all evil with his eyes. He's gonna winnow means like to sift. He's gonna inspect us, and he's gonna get to the heart of a matter, and he's gonna find out who's truly evil or not. He's gonna, because Jesus even warned that on Judgment Day there's gonna be many people saying that they did religious activity, saying they prophesied, they did many good works, they cast out demons even, but he's gonna go winnow them, and he's gonna say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, because they were not doing his will. They were not keeping the commandments of God. So, that's how much authority a king had, and Jesus is going to have on that day. Verse 9. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure, I am clean and without sin? All right? Who can say that? Nobody, except Jesus. Jesus was a sinless, perfect one. But all of us have sinned. The Bible says all of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So none of us can make this claim. We all have fallen short. All right? 10. Scroll up. Different weights and differing measures, the Lord detests them both. In other words, God does not like an imbalanced scale. Now, mind you, he's not just talking about and back then, people used to weigh meats and agricultural stuff. That's what it's talking about. But it applies to being impartial. God does not like when people are impartial. They show favor to one, but then they have a different standard for another. God says that's detestable. Don't do that. You gotta judge the same way you judge this person is the same way you got to judge that person. You cannot say, I'm going to judge this person this way, but this one, because this and that, I'm going to judge another way. You cannot show partiality because God hates them both. You got to be straight. All right? 11. Even small children are known by their actions. So is their conduct really pure and upright? Click on that because I don't really like that. That's not how the other interpretations have it. Go to the ESV. Even a child makes himself known by his acts, by whether his conduct is pure and upright. So in other words, you could tell by a child, even a little child, you could tell which child is a good child and which child is going to be wicked and going to be doing some weird stuff by their actions. And usually that's a reflection of the parents' byproduct. Has the parent been teaching them the right ways? Now, many of them could even say they're believers, but in their home, are they living it out? Because the way the child is acting is a reflection of their parenting. But even a child may be known by their actions. Whether they be good or evil, like the King James says, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. So you could tell even by a child, so don't be like, oh, they don't know nothing. They're just little children. No, you could tell, look, this kid is doing the right thing. He's a good kid. And then again, you could say, wow, this kid is bugged out. He's wicked. He's doing some evil acts. He's pushing people. He's biting. You could tell even by a child, and that's those things got to be taken out of a child. A good parent got to, discipline them to remove it, or else they're going to grow up. They're not going to be biting people. They're going to be doing worse things than, to people. So click back. Verse 12. Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. You know, don't take your hearing and your vision for granted. I mean, oh, I could see, you know, it's wonderful. Or hearing, oh, I could hear and it's great. God made them both. And God could easily take them away. God could have made you blind or deaf, but he made them both. He made them both. So really appreciate that and thank God for your hearing. Thank God for your seeing. You know, just put your fingers in your ear or cover your eyes for a few minutes and you realize, man, I am truly blessed. God, you know, thank you, Lord, for giving me vision to see and ears to hear, because it would be a terrifying, I don't even know how people live like that for decades. You know, either blind or deaf, and some even both. To me, it's like like you're in a prison cell, like solitary confinement. You know, so thank God, because God made them both, and God has given them both to you. All right. 13. Do not love sleep, or you will grow poor. Stay awake, and you will have food to spare. All right. So don't be a lover of sleep. Don't be like, you know what, I'm just going to sleep all day. My vacation, I'm just going to sleep. Do not love sleep or you will grow poor. Click on that. Let me go to the ESV. It says, do not love not sleep lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes and you will have plenty of bread. So you see, it says open your eyes, meaning you're sleeping, open your eyes, and then you have plenty of bread, because now you're not sleeping. You know, if you're not asleep, you should be active. You should be doing things, or else you're going to be poor and you won't have plenty of bread. You know, it reminds me of sometimes when the fridge, you know, you've been lying down all day and then you wake up and you say, you know, I want to make me a sandwich. And all of a sudden you realize there's no bread. Now, if you're awake, you would have said, oh, wow, there's no bread. I better go to BJ's or something to get it. Love not sleep lest you come to poverty. You're gonna be poor of something. You're gonna be missing something because you're not aware. You're too in la la land. You're zoned out that you're not aware of what's lacking. Open your eyes and you have plenty of food. If you open your eyes, if you look around, you'll see. But if you're sleeping, you're not gonna see it. And then when you do wake up, you're gonna be like, oh snap, I don't have that. All right, go back 14. It is not good. It is not good, says the buyer, then goes off and boasts about the purchase. I like that little scenario he's saying. So in other words, it's like a buyer and a seller. The buyer is trying to negotiate with the seller, and he's like, no, that's not good. That's a little bit too high. And look, it's not that great of a product. And then the guy negotiates it down. The buyer. The buyer negotiates down to like $10 less. He leaves, and then he tells his friends, oh man, that thing costs probably $30 more, but I got it for $10 less. In other words, what Simon is trying to say here, look, when it comes to business, people are not going to be honest in their dealings. All right, you got to know how to negotiate. You know, Trump made a book called The Art of the Deal back in the day. There's an art to the deal. The buyer is going to try to lowball you, and he's going to try to speak disparagingly about what you're trying to sell in order to get that lower price. So be aware of it. Don't be like, oh yeah, you're right. Sure. Okay. You're right here. I'll sell it for $10 less. No, that's what he does, because he wants to go off and boast. So be aware of that. Don't think that everybody's principled. Yeah, that oh, you know, this is my friend or my neighbor. No. They're going to try and negotiate down. And it could be, you could be selling anything. So just be aware of that, all right? 15, gold is there and rubies in abundance, but lips that speak knowledge are a rare jewel. Click on that and then go to the ESV. It says, ESV, there is gold and abundance of costly stones, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. Or I like in the King James, it says, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. It's basically the same. When you find somebody that speaks knowledge, that has wisdom, according to the Bible, that's a precious jewel. That's hard to find. You know, even in churches. Don't just think because you step into church that everybody has wisdom there. There might be nobody with wisdom. It's a rare jewel. And that's how come we're doing this study, because I want you to have that rare jewel. That's the precious jewel, not the gold and rubies. The precious jewel out here in this world is lips that speak knowledge. That's the most rarest thing. And that's the thing we should attain to. Because in God's eyes, that's invaluable. And not only invaluable, it's rare. So you got to be, and also be aware of that. Don't be thinking because somebody says they're a Christian that they have knowledge. You got to test them and say, okay, does he really have knowledge? Okay, he believes on Jesus. He believes he died and buried and rose and got baptized. But does he have any knowledge? Just because you have that doesn't mean you have knowledge. That person might be simple. Okay, go back. 16. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. In other words, if you laid a down payment for somebody and they're not a neighbor or a friend or family, if you say, look, I'm a back him up for what he wants to do, you know what? Just take your garment. Take whatever you gave him as a down payment. Just consider it a loss. You lost it. Because the book of Proverbs has been warning you not to do it. But even worse, you did it to a stranger. Somebody that you're not even close. You might as well just forget the money. Just that $10,000 you laid down, just forget it. You lost it. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. Hold it in pledge if it is done for an outsider. Again, like a stranger. You don't even know them and you're laying down money for them. That's madness. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for and you know what? Many people fall for it. These phone calls that say, from Kenya or wherever, Nigeria, and they say, oh yeah, you got this $1 million prize. All you got to do is put down $10,000. That's an outsider. You don't even know where he's from. And yet a lot of people, a lot of elderly fall for it. Why? Because they don't have any wisdom. Now, if they knew this, they'll be like, oh, no, I don't know you. I'm not going to lay down security so I could get money. That's crazy. Nope, sorry. But instead they do it and they fall for it. That's why it's important to get wisdom. 17, food gained by fraud tastes sweet, but one ends up with a mouthful of gravel. So in other words, when you steal something, it could be food, it could be anything. When you get it, it's like, man, wow, I got away with it. I got it. But in the end, it's gonna end up like a mouthful of gravel. I always use an analogy of somebody leave out donuts for everyone, but then some guy decides to take 2 because he looks around, he's like, oh, nobody's around. Oh, okay, I'm gonna take 2 donuts. But then all of a sudden, people are like complaining, saying, whoever did that, what a low life, he's, what a nasty slob, he's so not fair. And all of a sudden, that second donier doesn't taste as good because he realizes, I really messed up. I shouldn't have done that. So at first he was like, oh wow, food gained by fraud tastes sweet. Oh my gosh, I got a second donut. But in the end, all the negativity he's getting, he's like, I wish I never even took it. Now I feel really bad. All right. 18. Plans are established by seeking advice. So if you wage war, obtain guidance. All right. Again, one theme throughout the book of Proverbs is if you're going to make a plan, I don't care if it's to buy a car, a house, a marriage. If you're going to make a plan, you got to establish it with counsel, with advice. If you have a plan and you have nobody to back it up, you're in trouble. You're freestyling and you're going to fail because it's not established. So if you wage war, obtain guidance. Again, is using Solomon's talking to his sons, and they're going to be future princes. So he's saying, look, if you're going to go into a war, if you're going to fight, even it doesn't even have to be militaristic. It could be just like, for example, mom is fighting the HOA. If you want to fight this, if you want it established, if you have a plan, you got to get, so if you're going to wage war, obtain guidance. Look around you for anybody that has any knowledge or information, and then your plan will be established. But if you plan to wage a war and you're not getting guidance, you're going to lose. You're going to fail. It's not going to work out. You got to obtain guidance. All right. Verse 19. Now listen to this one. A gossip betrays a confidence. All right, so everybody knows that a gossip. They betray you. You gave them information and then they give it out. But look what it says: a gossip betrays a confidence. So avoid anyone who talks too much. All right. So in other words, if you know somebody and they just like to talk a lot, it doesn't even say gossip a lot. If they just like to yap for hours. And it could be about anything. It could be sports, weather, kids. They just very talkative. Beware, because they might gossip. Let me read it again. A gossip betrays a confidence. So avoid anyone who talks too much. If you encounter somebody that just likes to talk all the time, don't try to confide in them about anything. Because they're one of those that, like they say, loose lips sink ships. So yeah, you could be friendly, you could talk about the kids, but if you're saying, now I'm going to confide in you, you're in danger. You got to avoid those people when it comes to secret information, because they're going to betray you. All right? 20. If someone curses their father or mother, their lamp will be snuffed out in pitch darkness. That's a promise from God. So in other words, if you grow up and you wake up and you have a godly mom and dad, but all you focus on is the negativity, and usually it's not even negative. People that do this to a godly parent is like, oh, they were very controlling. Yeah, they were controlling because they wanted to control who you were with, how long you stood out. That's not bad control. That's good control. Because they look at the wicked parents who let their kids out till 2 a.m. and let them do whatever they want. So they look at that and say, oh, my mom and dad, they were very controlling. They were very demanding. They wanted me to, dress a certain way. They wanted me to behave a certain way. While the other parent, they didn't care. They let the kid do whatever, whenever. Whoever does that to their father or mother, God himself says God's going to take out their lamp. In other words, God's going to destroy them for what they did, because they're wicked. Because instead of being appreciative and saying, wow, man, I think my mom and dad, they really try to do their best to guide me in the right. No, they hate them. God himself is going to intervene, and he's going to put out their lamp. God's going to say, you're done because you're a fool, and now I'm going to have to put you out. And you're ungrateful. That makes it worse. 21. An inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed at the end. So in other words, you ever see like these kids that get their mom and dad die suddenly, and then they get all their money? What do they do with it? Do they invest it? Do they buy a house and stocks and bonds? No, they squander it. They go out partying. They buy boats and cars, the fanciest cars. And inheritance claimed too soon. They claimed it too soon. They should have gotten a little bit of experience, a little bit of knowledge of how the world operates. If they got it then they would have been blessed. But because they got it too soon, all that inheritance is not going to be blessed. It's going to be squandered. It reminds me of the parable of the prodigal son. He got his inheritance soon. What did he do? Wasted it on prostitutes, hung out with friends, and what happened to him? In the end, he was in a pig farm eating what the pigs were eating. So, God forbid I die or somebody you die and you get an inheritance, you got to be wise enough, if you're young, say, you know what, let me push this back because it's obvious I got it soon, but let me hold it back because, I might do some stupid things. All right. 22. Let's go up. Do not say, I will pay you back for this wrong. Wait for the Lord and he will avenge you. Right? Like the verse says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. If somebody wrongs you, don't get so emotional, so heated. You say, you know what, I'm going to pay you back for this wrong. I'm going to get back at you. Don't do that. If you're a wise person, you say, you know what, you did me wrong, but you know what, I'm going to let God deal with you. God's going to punish you. And when God punishes you, it's going to be not only worse, your hands are going to be clean of it. It's one thing if you pay them back and you started choking them and beating them down. Guess what? Now you got to go to jail, maybe lose your job. But if you say, you know what, I'm going to wait on God, God's going to destroy them. They're going to be the ones in jail. They're the ones that are going to get beat up in jail and all that. So wait on the wise say, you know what, I'm going to wait for the Lord and he will avenge you. He's the one who's going to fight for you. It's tough. Sometimes it's tough. Somebody violates you and you want to get back at them, but you got to say, you know what? I'm going to wait on the Lord and God's going to avenge me. All right. 23. The Lord detests differing weights, and dishonest scales do not please him. I go click on 23. I think we read this before where it says different weights and different measures. Let me read again. Diverse weights are an abomination to the Lord, and a false balance is not good. All right, so I already go back. I already emphasized that point, that we cannot show impartiality. Here is using more of a physical scale, but also in our lives. We cannot show one person favor over another. We got to treat everybody equally. We cannot say, oh, but this guy, this is a girl, and this is a guy, and he's older and she's younger. No, you got to show God is detestable. Again, it says the Lord detests. In the book of Revelation, God says that the detestable are going to be thrown into the lake of fire. If God says it's detestable, don't give me any philosophy that, oh, well, you got to understand the circumstances. No, God says differing weights and dishonest scales do not please him. So 24, a person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their way? All right. You got to get this in mind. In the end, God has a purpose in your life. You might have plans, but God's purpose is going to supersede whatever you want to do. Your agenda is not going to go above God's agenda. All right. So you got to say, I don't even understand my way. God, whatever plans you got for me, I want to walk in them. I don't know what they are, but you direct my steps. Because a person's steps are directed by the Lord. Who then can understand their way? In the end, God's will is going to be done in your life. Whatever purpose he has for you is going to be accomplished. So 25. It is a trap to dedicate something rashly. In other words, it's a trap to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I promise I'm going to do this. And you do it rashly. You didn't even think it out. I promise I'll go with you. You didn't even think it out like, oh, wait, I have other plans that day. And it's a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows. So you made a promise, and all of a sudden, you made a promise rashly, and then all of a sudden, you after you made the promise, like, oh, snap, wait a minute, I forgot about this and that. It's wise never to make promises rashly or a vow. Don't make them rashly. Say, you know what, I gotta weigh this out. Give me time. Let me ask everybody around, make sure there's no conflicts or, any other issues. Then I come back. But if you make it rashly, what it says, only later to consider one vow. And then you're like, oh, snap, damn, I forgot about that. You can't be like that. Don't make rash oaths or rash promises. Really think them through. I don't care how excited you are. Just really think it through. Say, oh, this sounds great, but wait, give me an hour. I'll come back to you. So don't make promises rashly. 26. Go scroll down. I'm up. A wise king winnows out the wicked. He drives the threshing wheel over them. So again, he said that remember earlier we read that the wise king winnows out the wicked with his eyes. Once he winnows them out, look what the wise king does. He drives the threshing wheel over them. Oh my gosh. If you don't know what a threshing wheel is, back in the day, in order to thresh corn and make it into flour, they had this big like rock wheel, and it went over the corn so it could smash into smithereens. This is what the king did to the wicked, a wise king. They used to punish the wicked and just drive this wheel and just to crush them. Oh my goodness. Just the thought, the bones crackling and getting destroyed. But that's what wise kings do. In other words, a wise king, a wise government, when there's evil being done, they punish the wicked doer severely. They don't let it slide. I still remember in 2020, all these BLM Antifa riots, nothing was done. That was foolishness. A wise king would have said, you know what? We're going to crack down. We're going to punish these guys for what they did. We don't care if they're protesting. You cannot do that. But they didn't do that. But a wise king would do that. That's how they made sure people were in line, in check. But instead, what happened? One city did it. Then all of a sudden, this city and that city, and all around the nation, people were burning down and robbing stores. But if it was a wise king, he would have crushed it right then and said, nope. And then the wicked would have been, oh, snap, I better not go there. I don't want to get crushed by the threshing wheel. 27, the human spirit is the lamp of the Lord that sheds light on one's innermost being. Click on that. I think I like the ESV, the way it's worded. Let's see. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts. So in other words, look, you got to understand, again, God deals with your heart. God knows the thoughts and intents of your heart. It's not hidden to him. Your spirit is like a lamp. The lamp shines. So you can hide and pretend and portray, but God knows the innermost thoughts of your heart. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts. So God is searching you. God is searching your hearts. God is trying to gather information of what's really going on in your heart. So you could pretend and fake, but God knows your heart. Okay? 28. Go back. Love and faithfulness keeps a king secure. Through love, his throne is made secure. So if a king has love and faithfulness, if he has it in himself and he has it amongst his people, it says through love, his throne is made secure. I mean, that's pretty self-evident that if the people love the king, his throne will be made secure. People are not going to overthrow a king they love. They're going to be, we love this guy. But how is his throne secure? Through love. Because he showed love to them, and they in response showed love to him. That's how a nation, a king is secure. Love and faithfulness keeps a king safe. Is that. So if a king shows love and he's faithful and he's respectful to his subjects, the king will be safe. But if he's hateful and not faithful, he doesn't keep the promises, the people are going to usurp him. All right? 29. Last two verses. The glory of a young man is their strength. Gray hair, the splendor of the old. I click on that. I like the King James Version better. I like their the Old English. It says, the glory of a young man is their strength, and the beauty of old men is the gray head. All right. So the glory of a young man is their strength. When I see my sons, they're faster than me. They're going to get eventually stronger than me. And that's their glory. That's their glory days for now. And the beauty of old men, or like the ESV says, the splendor of old men is their gray hair. When you get older, I'm going to be 50 next week. That's my glory. That's the come I have trouble with believers dyeing their hair. Because God says it's their glory, their splendor, their beauty. And yet people, oh no, I don't want, because they don't understand. They think that by dyeing their hair, they look young with their wrinkles and crow's feet and all. No, you still look old. Here, God says it's their beauty and their splendor. So as wise people, we should walk in that. Not be, oh my gosh, I got gray hair. Oh, I got to dye it. No, God says, if God says it's splendor and glory, who are you to say, oh, that's, it's not splendor and glory? Honestly, when a believer does that, I already question if they're even wise. Because if they were wise, they should be like, you know what? This is God's wisdom. I'm going to roll with what God says. But when they start going, oh, I gotta paint my hair and all that, they just showing that they don't believe God. Over something simple like this. If they don't believe God in the simple things, I question if they believe in the deeper matters that require you to cut off people, cut off habits and sins that they don't want. So if they're having trouble with their gray hair and putting ink all over it, that's a red flag that they're probably not a wise person. Go back, last verse. Blows and wounds scrub away evil, all right? Blows and wounds. Bible says that discipline your child with a rod, not with a 10-minute timeout, not with, I'm going to take away your privileges. Blows and wounds scrub away evil. And it could be just in general. Suppose, let's just say you went, people told you, look, don't go to Harlem at 2 a.m. and you're like, that's just rumors and all that. And then you decide to go to Harlem at 2 in the morning. You get beat up. Guess what? I bet you ain't going to go back at 2 in the morning in Harlem. Blows and wounds scrub away evil, and beatings purge the innermost beings. You know, if you get a good beating, some people get a good beating, they don't go back. They're like, you know what? I learned my lesson. You know, my mom and dad warned me about it. My friends, I didn't listen to them. But this beat down showed me I better not go down that path. Sometimes a person needs a good beat down for them to get the message. It's sad but true. You know, that's, you know, ASP calls it, what's it called? Like when some guy, a criminal, gets caught, and then the community starts beating them down. Huh? It says like a community beat down or something, huh? But anyway, sometimes a person needs that, you know. And here it says it, you know, it's gonna, and beatings will purge the innermost being. Yeah, like I said, the ASP video, I see a criminal trying to rob somebody, but then they mess up and then they get caught. And then you see the whole community piling on them, kicking them in the head, and, you know, hitting them with sticks. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna do that again, or at least they won't do it there, because they're like, okay, I'm not gonna go down here. So, all right, we'll end there. All right, so if anybody has a question, observation, comment.